entirely, so
I see.
I decided to include it.
Okay, there she goes, making up new rules as she goes along. And that's been Krysta's weird facts for this week.
How dare you? Mom?
I totally dare, Krystal.
Where do you think I get it from?
I ain't going making up rules as I go. I don't know what you're talking about.
Where do you think I get it from, Dad?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, now both of you are playing this I don't know what you're talking about thing.
Alright, so let's talk about Vlad a little bit. Vlad Tepes, wait, I'm not saying that right. It's Tepes, which is a weird way to pronounce that word, but that's what Wikipedia said. I'm going to believe it. I know that's crazy, but I am.
Mm-hmm.
He's also known as Vlad Dracula, or in Romanian that's Vlad Dracula. And he was the voivode of Wallachia 3 times between 1448 and his death. He is often considered one of the most important rulers in Wallachian history and a national hero of Romania. He was the second son of Vlad Dracula. Now, Dracula means dragon. He was part of something called the Order of the Dragon, which was a religious order of warriors sworn to keep the Ottoman Empire from the Christian Europe. And so that's part of why he fought the Ottoman Empire as much as he did, and it's why Vlad, his son, did as well.
Right.
In fact, when Vlad was young...
They didn't let him on the furniture.
No,
I mean, sounds fair, because one of my friends...
The furniture was probably made out of other people's heads. I mean, it was kind of a savage time.
Yeah, but you know, they're fancy and they don't want people on the fancy furniture. I don't know. Go. I'm gonna be quiet over here because I'm not making any sense even to myself tonight.
So,
neither am I.
Now, Vlad Dracula was the ruler of Wallachia in 1436. I'm sorry, he was actually the voivode earlier than that. But he was summoned to the Ottoman Empire to meet the Sultan because he was going to be forced to pay tribute to the Sultan. And they insisted they bring 2 of his sons with him. Okay. So he brought Vlad, and he brought his other son, Radu. R-A-D-U. Radu.
Okay. The Sultan.
To the Sultan, to pay their respects. And the Sultan had all 3 immediately arrested.
Uh-huh.
And then after a brief time, he freed their dad and kept his sons, basically to make sure he stayed loyal to the Ottoman Empire.
Okay. So in other words, he did not feel respected.
Probably not. When he was made to be a hostage to hold on to his dad's...
I meant the Sultan. But yeah, okay.
So, anyway, after a time, Vlad's father, also Vlad, decided that his sons were dead, that the Sultan had murdered them, he said, in order to keep the Christian peace.
Ah.
And so he turned on the Ottoman Empire and began fighting against them. Well, the Sultan at some point released Vlad and Radu. We're not sure why. Just did.
Just done. Diddly darn done.
Okay. And so he probably really didn't feel respected by their father.
Right. And he eventually died. So now we've got young Vlad, he's called Vlad Dracula because by adding an A to Dracul, it becomes... Dracul in Romanian means devil or dragon. Vlad the Dragon. Dracula means son of the dragon. That's where that name comes from.
Gotcha.
So, Krysta, your mind's blown, right? You didn't know that name meant anything, did you? Son of the dragon is what it means.
Congrats. You learn more every day. The more you know.
So, Vlad spent his life fighting against the Turks, fighting against the Ottoman Empire, and fighting against the Romanian Saxons, who would occasionally decide, we're going to stand up to Vlad. And he'd go, okay, I'm going to start murdering you by the dozens. And they would then go, maybe this standing up to Vlad thing, not such a good idea.
Yeah, not such a good idea.
Now,
Sounds like a real world-class kind of dude to me.
Well, Vlad, like I said, he was a hero to his people because what he did for Romania. He did for what they call Wallachia.
Well, or at least that's what we're going with.
No, he was pretty solidly for his people. He was not a man of couth, and he certainly didn't mind torturing people to get what he wanted. And he was kind of good at it. In fact, shortly after he became the voivode, I believe it was the second time, the Sultan sent a couple emissaries to say, the Sultan would like to see you personally. He wants you to personally offer your fealty to him.
No, we've been here, done this.
So Vlad went, okay, but first, I got something for you guys. And he impaled them.
There we go. Thus the name.
Now, Krysta, when Vlad impaled people, he would take these big wooden spikes, stick them through them, and then put the spikes in the ground so these people would just...
They're people kebabs!
Yeah.
They were people kebabs.
They were people kebabs.
He didn't make sure they were dead when he put them up there. They would just kind of hang there and flop in the breeze until they died. And then they would leave them there to rot. So that they would serve as, kind of a welcome sign for anyone else who came along.
Yeah.
Hi, welcome. Yeah, you're dead.
The grounds of Poenari Castle are full of blood because of this practice of impaling people. And he would impale people for no reason. None at all. Didn't need a reason. But...
Well, there's a reason. He was fond of the yard art.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Gorgeous.
There's a story. Now, I don't know how true it is, but there's a story about Vlad. He was in his castle when a merchant from another country came to him because he was the ruler of the kingdom, and he said, my cart has been waylaid, my money has been stolen. And Vlad, who hated thieves almost as much as he hated liars, and he hated both, Vlad was like, okay, I'll find your money. You go back, do what you do. I'll find your money. Don't worry about it. And so, sure enough, here comes a soldier with all this money. Bam! Drops it, on the merchant. And the merchant counts it and realizes there's an extra ducat in there, an extra gold piece, an extra whatever form of money they use.
Mm-hmm.
And so he goes to Vlad, and he's like, not only did I get my money back, but there's this extra one. And Vlad was like, okay. Well, you know what? If you hadn't mentioned the extra one, I would have put you up with the burglars who stole it from you. But since you did, off you go, on your own.
So he had his own code of honor and kind of decided what he believed was right and what he believed was wrong. And
right. In fact, there's another tale of Vlad's where an emissary from the Ottoman Empire came to see him, and he upset Vlad, and Vlad made it known he was going to impale the guy. And the guy's like, gets down on one knee, and he says, whatever you feel you need to do, Vlad, please do. But don't impale me. I couldn't be out there on a stake around all those other people on stakes, smelling them die. I can't. I wouldn't be able to. And Vlad's like, I heard what you're saying. So he tells his guards, impale him, but make sure it's on a bigger stick than everybody else, so he doesn't have to smell him.
well, there you go.
Alright, well, you're further away from the smell, so you can't smell him. Bye-bye.
And Vlad was feared as a warrior.
Yeah.
Not just because he had a tendency to, put people on spikes after they, on big sticks after he killed them, or after he beat them. But during a battle against the Sultan's men, Vlad got very injured. And he managed to survive by crawling from corpse to corpse, drinking the blood of these dead soldiers. Until people, came and found him and put him on the men. But that's how he survived, drinking the blood of dead soldiers.
Yeah. There's, I'm guessing that's where the
Dracula stuff came from.
Well, that's
vampire.
Where a good chunk of the lore comes from, at least.
Now, you got to understand, Dracula didn't come out till the late 1800s, early 1900s.
True.
So
yeah.
He was not associated with vampires really before that. Maybe kind of legendary folk people, but it wasn't anything that was... It wasn't until Bram Stoker wrote the novel Dracula that he became forever tied with vampires. And there are those who say that a lot of these stories I'm telling are strictly legends, but whatever the case, the people of Romania believe them, and it's part of why they love him. Because Vlad was not the sort of man to surrender. He was not the sort of man to give up. He would gladly feed you your own tongue if he could. And he'd die trying. So it's part of why they love him.
It's important to have outside extracurricular activities for sure.
Yeah. Like I said, in the 15th century, he called himself Dracula, or Dracula. He himself signed letters that way in the late 1470s. And like I said, it's because his dad was a member of the Order of the Dragon, so he was Vlad Dracula, and Dracula is son of the dragon. Dracula currently means devil, so Dracula means son of the devil now, but in ancient Romania it meant dragon. So, and we're dealing with a guy that, even though he came up royalty, he was a rough and tumble guy. Like, he was not the sort of guy that... I'm not going to get my hands dirty doing that. He was as rough and tumble as they come.
I see.
And the women he married tended to be as bad as he was. So,
More worse.
No, just as strong, though, is what I'm saying. Now, I'm sure they had some knockdown dragouts, and while I couldn't necessarily find it in the legends, I'm sure he was tempted more than a time or two to, I could put you up in a pike. He never did.
That you found.
Yeah. Well, he might have had it wrote out. Who knows? But Vlad would several years at a time ignore the Sultan. The Sultan would send an emissary to say, the Sultan takes note of the fact that you have for another year ignored him. And Vlad would do what he did, which was kill the emissaries.
So in other words, every once in a while the Sultan would be like, yo, you, I'm sick of looking at your face. Go, take this message to Vlad.
Yeah, I guess. Okay.
After the first one or two didn't come back, you kind of got to feel like the Sultan knew what he was doing at that point.
Well, I didn't think of it like that. And see, part of the reason I didn't think of it like that is that in that time, in that place, if you were dealing with the head of the Ottoman Empire or the leader of the Roman Empire or someone that commanded a lot of troops, they expected fealty just paid to them. And so they didn't understand necessarily when someone would back down on that. They just...
Okay, and I get that, but we're talking about a pretty decent chunk of time here. And it's not like this was some dude that he just heard of. This was a dude that he had in his castle when this man was a child. he took him from his father and said, yeah, I'm going to keep him here, and we're going to do this, and you're going to go do what I